Every year, on the 8th of March, we celebrate International Women's Day to shed light on some of the achievements women across the world have achieved in their paths, from banking to fashion and creative industries, and even space. Let's take a look. Can you just speak about the stature of this company and some of its women empowerment initiatives that it has in place?
Sure. So from a visa perspective, when we look at women empowerment, there are multiple programs that we mobilize across the continent. And it's more than just driving the business value for those that we work with. It's also about driving societal impact. Because when you drive the impact at a societal level, all of us benefit. The country benefits, communities benefit from it. A few programs that we have, and I spoke about it in the earlier panel as well. She's Next. It's actually one of our flagship programs where we actually partner. This year we are partnering with Absa Bank in South Africa, where we actually provide mentorship, coaching, and funding to women-owned businesses in line with how we want to empower women. This year, as I mentioned, we're working with Absa. The program will actually open in a couple of weeks, where we'll start receiving applications from different women-led businesses in South Africa. And there's over 1 million that is available in funding, which we will allocate through the program. But what is really key for us is to be able to coach and mentor and drive a sustainable change for the businesses that we will interact with.
Now, you've touched on your essential service, which is banking, and I understand you are a multinational corporation that operates in a number of African countries. Can you just give us an overview of some of the key objectives, your mission and impact, specifically focusing on the continent?
Sure. So from a visa perspective, we want to uplift everyone everywhere and really be the best way to pay and be paid. And with this comes a really, big vision and strategy on how do you displace cash? How do you enable digital payments across the globe? We know that when you enable digital financial services, you actually lift the GDP of countries. So there are multiple technologies and multiple solutions that we are working on. For the purposes of women empowerment, I'll talk about there are multiple digital literacy programs that we work with. When you look at women-owned businesses, having access to things like e-commerce, being able to start online businesses, especially where women want to control their own time and work, in their own setup. These are some of the things that we're looking at. And then, of course, other programs like Kiva, where there are multiple women-owned businesses that need funding. And we, through a partnership with Kiva, we actually finance micro businesses. Last year, we financed over 19,000 small businesses. And again, it's a women empowerment-led objective.
You've touched on access, and I'd like to zero in on your position as a woman leader. What are some of the ways that you are going about ensuring more women have access to such pivotal and influential positions where they're able to lead?
I'm very fortunate in that I work for an organization that really enables women empowerment. If you look at just our Sub-Saharan Africa office, we're more than 50% female. If you look at our top leadership, we are majority also female. There are multiple programs that we have on inclusion and diversity. It's one thing including gender diversity. It's another thing being able to give women a voice. And we know that this is an area where women struggle with, how do I find the confidence to speak? How do I find the confidence to make my point of view? And these are some of the more practical things we try and enable through work as senior women to draw in, more junior people and give them the confidence to speak. I think we are also very conscious through our hiring, through our talent management process, and also through our remuneration processes, right? We know globally there is a challenge when it comes to pay and equal pay. And I think we've made a conscious decision that we will, when we go through our annual review processes, etc., these types of topics feature in it.
Now, you are in the financial services sector, so you are no stranger to numbers. Can you just share some of the investments that you have made, particularly focusing on women empowerment?
Sure. So I'll start with She's Next. Since its inception in 2010, we've actually invested over $2.2 million in this particular initiative on women empowerment. We have also, in the last year, made an announcement of $5 million across the African continent, which will focus on women empowerment and impact programs across the continent. Kiva, which is what I mentioned earlier as well, where we have, again, majority of those businesses are actually women-led. Every Visa employee gets a grant or a donation that we can make. And in doing so, we've last year actually given money to over 19,000 businesses. So the impact in on the African continent is quite significant, and we look forward to investing more and getting behind initiatives that really create a societal impact.
Mr. Fele, thank you so much for joining us today at the Forbes Women Awards. I'd just like to begin with your presence today. What do you expect to see from today's evening?
Well, Kiamu, good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come and talk about this very great program, which I think for many issues that we face in the society, for what we face also as a continent, especially talking about inclusion as a whole, which resonate with the Absa strategy as an active force for good. So my expectation is that today, as we launch this partnership with Visa, it's been a long journey of collaboration. And here we are starting to cement, tangibly so, our programs in terms of empowering beyond our own spaces.
Empowering beyond your own spaces. Can you please touch on the Absa Visa partnership that you've gotten into?
Yeah. So the Absa Visa partnership has been long in the making in terms of making sure that the two global entities, we are linked in terms of our objectives to empower society. And as I said earlier, it's for Absa specifically, it's part of our active force for good and playing a shaping role in society. So this partnership has been co-funded and making sure there is tangible funding behind it, and not just words, but action. That's starting firstly in our South African base, and then we are going to expand as we develop and grow together to the rest of the continent where we operate here.
I understand you are in the financial services sector. Now, touching in the African context, a number of small-scale entrepreneurs are largely women. Penetrating that space as a multinational corporation, what are some of the ways you're going about including a demographic that is often forgotten or not as prioritized in the banking sector?
Well, for Absa specifically, we are serious about Africa. Africa is our heartbeat. Aside from our purpose statement, empowering Africa's tomorrow, today, together, right? And one story at a time. This is the story that we are prepared to tell. I'll start with the basis of our program, which is anchored in South Africa first, and then we expand this into our African operations. We have made a determination from tangible goals to spend, as part of our procurement spend, by 2027, targeting about 51% of all our spend into all entities. But when it comes to women specifically, we set ourselves a target of achieving 40% by 2027. Where I'm sitting here today, standing here today, we've achieved 44%, which translates into 8.5 billion rands of spend into women-owned entities. And now this partnership is giving us also an alliance and a collaborative partner with Visa to show that the partners we bring into our space also share the same objectives. So we operate in the rest of the continent as well. We've got similar programs whereby we support inclusive financial instruments to have access to markets, to have access to finance, to have access to key leaders and key entities that we can collaborate so that we don't create a dependency on Absa. So that as the business strategies are changing, the entrepreneurs we develop are sustainable.
I'd like to bring it back to home. As a Chief Procurement Officer, you do hold a very important title. But speaking to women leadership, what are some of the initiatives in place at your corporation that speak to carving and grooming a young woman or female leaders in the organization?
Well, Absa is an all-inclusive organization, and the women demographic happens to be part of our very key leadership for focus areas, not as a separate demographic, but in terms of our total inclusiveness, especially for the so-called downtrodden, as you use the word, forgotten. At Absa, I can confidently say we have not forgotten anyone. Everyone in our space is equally important.
Equally important. I really like that line or that tagline. But in terms of keeping abreast of the digital age that we're living in, what are some of the ways in which your corporation embraces technology or digital innovation to ensure that you're inclusive and essentially keeping in line with the latest trend?
Well, part of our key tenets of our strategy is also scaling our business digitally so. And every process and every product. But if I come back again to my area of specialty, which in terms of empowering SMMEs, including women, we've got specific programs that we co-create products that digitally give access to the market so that they don't have to be in one location. Right? As part of our post-landing support, as part of our post-contracting support, I'm proud to say we've got more than 32 entities that we have supported from digital programs, from business administrative issues, changing their manual processes into digital processes, giving them space. I mean, if we think about COVID, where it come from, where nobody could go anywhere else, these entities that I'm talking about could go on doing business because we set the platform that we develop jointly. We don't dictate. We look at the gaps where they are at for entities and then say, how can we help you? So bridging the digital gap is a key component. We just launched WhatsApp banking to make it easy to access finances. We've got chat platforms, chat wallet, which is just wherever you are, you can bank 24/7. Apple Pay is another example, which is the first in the financial services done by Absa.
Now, lastly, before you go, today is International Women's Day. As a man yourself, what are some of the ways, or why do you think a day like this is important?
Well, Kamo, I have been brought up by beautiful women, right? So I am very close to women issues, understand how we've been created and empowered together, male and female species. So for me, women empowerment is important. That's why even at Absa, we see that we've got key roles that are occupied by women, not because they are women, because they've got the capability and the ability.